Hey there, A's Day fans. Welcome to our next edition of A's Player Preview and Prediction as we talk about one of your favorite A's players. One a day leading all the way up to A's opening day this Friday, March 27th, as the A's are set to take on the defending American League champion Toronto Blue Jays up in Toronto, the defending American League champion. What an electrifying way for the A's to kick off the 2026 campaign. We still have a few days until that exciting kickoff of a new beginning for the Athletics. Until then, we are going to navigate and head to the outfield to talk about another player on this A's roster. Today, we talk about the 2026 outlook for right fielder Lawrence Butler. Let's get to know Butler a little bit before we take a look at how he performed this past year and discuss his 2026 outlook and projections and all of that good stuff. Butler is a native of Burlington, New Jersey. He attended high school at Westlake High School in Atlanta, however, so he does call both of those spots home in a special place. He is entering his age 26 season with the A's and is coming off an up and down campaign along his professional journey. How this all started was back in the 2018 Major League Baseball draft. The A's selected Butler in the 6th round with the 173rd overall selection. Butler would go on to make his professional debut that year with the rookie-level Arizona League Athletics, hitting .226 in 46 games. Butler spent the 2019 season with the low-A Vermont Lake Monsters. He played in 55 games for the team, struggling to a 177, 276 on base, and 287 slugging percentage with 4 home runs and 22 RBIs. He returned to action in 2021, playing for the Single-A Stockton Ports and High-A Lansing Lugnuts. In 102 games between the two teams, he batted .273 with a .367 on base and .504 slugging percentage with career highs in home runs with 19, RBIs with 75, and stolen bases with 29. In 2022, Butler spent the year with Lansing, hitting .270 with a .357 on base and .468 slugging percentage with 11 home runs, 41 RBIs, and 13 stolen bases. On November 15, 2022, the A's added Butler to their 40-man roster to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. Butler was optioned to the AA Midland Rockhounds to begin the 2023 season. In 89 games split between Midland and the AAA Las Vegas Aviators, he batted a cumulative .284, a .350 on base, and .475 slugging percentage with 15 home runs, 70 RBIs, and 21 stolen bases. On August 11, 2023, Butler was promoted to the Major Leagues for the first time. Butler started the 2024 season in the Major Leagues but struggled early and was demoted to AAA Las Vegas. He was called back up to the majors in June and rebounded, finishing with a .262 average in 125 games. On March 6, 2025, Butler signed a 7-year, $65.5 million contract extension with the Athletics through 2031 with a club option for the 2032 season. He made 152 appearances for the team during this past year, hitting .234 with a .306 on base and .404 slugging percentage with 21 home runs, 63 RBIs, and 22 stolen bases. The trouble is, the person with the highest expectations might have been Butler himself, as he appeared to put a lot of pressure on himself at times this past year and then become despondent when he failed. The best news out of this past year is that Butler's right field defense took a massive step forward from a tepid -1 defensive run saved, -1 OAA his rookie season, to a more encouraging +2 defensive run saved and +3 outs above average in 2025. He was forced to man center field later in the year when sidekick and friend Denzel Clark hit the injured list. Butler was inconsistent, making some highlight reel catches, but also misplaying some reads and routes, but nevertheless held his own out there rather enough to be a league playable center fielder. At the plate is where Law fought himself and the Law lost. There were flurries of the old Butler, but long stretches of mediocrity sprinkled all around it, all adding up to a disappointing .234, .306, .404 line, which equated to a 96 WRC plus line for the season. He struggled mightily against left-handed pitching, putting up just a 188 batting average, a 228 on base, and 342 slugging percentage, which was good for a 52 WRC plus line with a 39.8 K percentage rate. In aggregate, Butler was still a very useful player, a 2-WAR, and a young leader in the clubhouse. but as someone who wears his emotions on his sleeve, during a tough season, Butler often looked like he was sulking and might not have given off the vibe he would want to project to his teammates. It's hard to say whether the mental or emotional aspect of the game, where Butler sometimes appears to struggle, is a matter of maturity or simply who he is. The former would suggest improvement from one year to the next, the latter not so much. Fact is, Butler is primed more than any A's player for a bounce-back season, partly because he has a down season to bounce back from. The A's and their fans would, of course, welcome a return to the budding star qualities he showed in 2024 when his 300, 345 on base, and 553 slugging percentage second half line made him a force as a leadoff hitter or middle-of-the-order hitter, take your pick. Because he has shown his ceiling in one season and closer to his floor in another, 2026 figures to be an important year for Butler, and with his fortunes may go, much of the A's chances to compete for a postseason berth may as well. On October 3rd, following this past season, it was announced that Butler had undergone surgery to repair the patellar tendon in his right knee. He also received a platelet-rich plasma injection to address patellar tendonitis in his left knee. And I feel like that injury cleanup was part of the up-and-down nature of his 2025 campaign. And the type of player and the type of person Lawrence Butler seems to be, he would definitely not use that as a crutch or as an excuse. I feel like he is the type of player that he feels if he is in the starting nine and he is lacing it up and playing, then he better be able to perform. And any injury that he may have been dealing with, especially with his legs, is definitely going to affect consistency at the plate because you're not going to feel balanced at the plate. You're going to feel like there's something holding you back. And once those mechanics and the good feelings start to go away, then the mental starts to take over, and then you start trying to do too much. You start chasing pitchers' pitches. You start going out of your zone, and then it goes into a downward spiraled effect from there. And that's what seemed to happen to Butler at times last year. There were certainly stretches where he was coming through to the team, and I loved his adjustment, especially in the second half of the year, where it seemed like he had more of a willingness to drive the ball to the opposite field. Definitely saw him collecting more of those doubles to the left side of the field, taking after Tyler Soderstrom, it seemed like, who had tons of those from pole to pole throughout this past year. And Butler seemed to show flashes of his old self more and more as the year went on. It still was a season that came well short of his expectations. I would say that Butler should be primed to be an 800-plus OPS without even blinking, and the fact that he was barely over 700 was something that was glaring. And another area that Butler is going to have to cut down on is the strikeouts. And a lot of that, I feel, really is a factor of the mental fortitude. I feel like when it rains, it pours with Butler, and you can see that the mentals take over where he gets caught in between timing between different pitches where he may be sitting off speed and then gets caught looking with a fastball right there or vice versa, where he's out in front instead of just clearing his head and letting his talent take over as a hitter. Because when he just goes out there and sees and hits the ball with authority to all fields, he is a force to be reckoned with. And certainly, like we talked about earlier, there are a lot of encouraging signs in terms with the glove. He played, I thought, a very solid right field, and especially the fact that he was just thrown into center field action without a significant amount of reps out there due to Denzel Clark going down due to injury. I thought Butler held his own well enough out there. It wasn't anything although he did make some spectacular plays. I think he robbed a home run, made a couple of good diving catches on a consistent night in and night out basis. He wasn't the best center fielder, but he could do a lot worse there too as well. So there were a lot of encouraging signs on the defensive side of things. And obviously Butler being able to add the stolen base threat to this lineup as well just provides a little bit more versatility to the lineup as a whole. So the areas would be looking for Butler to improve would be to cut down that strikeout rate, which last year was nearly 30%. I think it was 38.4% rate. But then if you can get that down to the lower 20s, we'd love to see an increase in that walk percentage, without a doubt. I think Butler getting to first base is a big key to this lineup wherever he's hitting. And there was a time where it seemed like he was going to project as the prototypical leadoff hitter of the modern game, where he's got speed, he can hit the ball to all fields, he's got power, and he can turn a walk or single into a quick double just by stealing and getting himself into scoring position. I don't think he's at that point as a hitter in his game. I think right now where Butler needs to do is gain some confidence, see some go through the hoop, and have a positive start to this year, and perhaps not even move him to the leadoff spot. Let him go through a full year of putting it together at the major league level before even having that conversation. I do still think that could be Butler's long-term location, because ideally you would like to have Kurtz towards the top of the order, but still a little bit lower than leadoff, because yes, he gets on base at a high clip, but you want one of your top run producers to hit when there's other runners on base as well. And you're automatically taking that out of his hands one at-bat per game whenever he leads off. I mean, I guess technically you could say with the dynamic offensive output that Kurtz has at the dish, he's in scoring position every time he steps to the plate. But why not give him more of an opportunity to hit with more runners in front of him so that he can cash in with those run scoring situations, which Kurtz was so good at consistently during his first campaign last year. But we're not talking about Kurtz. We're getting back to Butler, because this year probably Butler projects to hit towards the middle to bottom half of the order. I would say probably around the 5 or 6 spot. You could expect to see Butler, and I think there he's going to have an opportunity with a lot of protection in this lineup to see better pitches to hit. I feel pitchers are going to feel, at least based on the tape and the performance that Butler put on display last year, that at least early in the year that pitchers are going to be more willing to attack Butler. And Butler, who does have one of the top bat speeds in the league, could benefit on feasting off higher velocity if pitchers feel more confident attacking him with fastballs. If he can get them early in counts, I think Butler can feast and have a bounce-back campaign without a doubt. But he's someone that I feel 2026 is really a transitional year for Butler. Not that if he has another tough year, they're going to move on from him or anything like that. I just think the level of expectations is going to change. And then with that, there may be a need to bolster the lineup if they're going to continue to get a look at another outfielder, just to perhaps push Butler, who they gave that long-term extension. Now, I don't feel Butler is going to have a repeat of last year unless he's going through this season battling more injuries, because I do feel like it truly had an effect on him, and we didn't see a Butler feeling at his A self. And again, he's not using that as an excuse, but when you're having issues with both of your knees, that's got to affect your connectivity at the plate, and you kind of feel uncomfortable all throughout. And I just feel like it wasn't accustomed to what we had been seeing from the maturity and development of Butler as a player. So I think now coming into this year, as he is finishing up retooling from surgery and he has gotten into spring training action, he homered the other day, I think he's going to be looking a lot more like himself. If we are going to select a comeback player of the year in March, keep your eyes on Lawrence Butler fitting that narrative, because I feel like he is going to perhaps be another X factor on this team, and I feel like he's going to cash in the middle of this A's order. And we're going to have a much different conversation, I feel like, next time around with A's player preview and prediction. But even before that, when we're doing season recaps later, I think we're going to have a lot more positive things to say about Lawrence Butler's season as a whole. But best of luck to the Law Dog. Love seeing him when things are going great, and hopefully we could see him return to the player that we were expecting last year. Wishing him nothing but a healthy 2026 year filled with a lot of personal and team success. On the 2026 campaign, Fangraphs projects Lawrence Butler as follows. They expect him to hit for a .246 batting average, of 22 home runs, 74 RBIs, 19 stolen bases, a .744 OPS, an 8.8 walk percentage, and a 25 K percentage. So they expect him to strike out a little bit less, but still the high volume, and not walk much more. They expect him to get on base a little bit more and have perhaps, I guess, a little bit more of slug, perhaps more projected doubles, but they still don't have him being an 800 OPS player. They have him being about 30 points higher than last year, but I still think he's got more in the tank than that. So with our official over-under prediction here at A's Day, we're going to look at that 744 OPS. We feel like this is an easy over. We're hammering it. We are expecting Butler to be in that low 800 range. We expect a lot out of him, especially with his tool set, and feel like when things are going right, and if he can get on a hot streak, especially to start the year off and get that confidence brewing early and let it transcend him all throughout the year to remind him he is a talented player, and the A's locked him up long term because they believe in him, that he is a cornerstone piece of the A's ushering in perhaps this new winning era of baseball in their franchise history. So we're going to take the over. We're going to predict that Butler is going to end up with an 806 OPS. Just feel like he's going to have a significant bounce back this year. He's going to cut down the strikeouts a bit, get on base a little bit more. Just the more at-bats you get at the MLB level, that's just experience in itself. And I feel like Butler is going to be in a much better place mentally, knowing that his physical's in a good place. And I think with his willingness to take the ball to opposite field with authority, I think it's going to open him up to being a lot more of a productive overall player. And with that, that brings us to the conclusion of another edition of A's Player Preview and Prediction. Appreciate you stopping by and hearing our thoughts on a member of this Athletics 2026 club. We are excited for the outlook of Lawrence Butler being a potential bounce-back candidate and hope the Log Dog figures it out, because if he does, this team's lineup really lengthens that much more. As a reminder, if you want to continue this conversation about Lawrence Butler, the A's, or anything about the green and gold in general, check us out on our social media platforms on Instagram at A's Day Baseball Podcast, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at A's Day Baseball, and check us out on our YouTube channel for video editions of these episodes, as well as A's player interviews and A's baseball destination content experiences that have been and will continue to be posted for your viewing pleasure on our channel. And to become an official subscriber of A's Day, check us out on our Patreon site, patreon.com/A's Day. For just $2 a month, you'll be entered to win monthly A's Day t-shirts, A's autographed memorabilia, future A's game tickets, and so much more as we are able to grow this platform collaboratively. Hope you enjoyed. Welcome to A's opening day week. We are excited to be so close to the return of regular season baseball this Friday up in Toronto. Until then, we are going to continue on as we draw to the near close of the A's Player Preview and Prediction series. We've got 3 more to go before the team preview episode to conclude a wonderful series capturing our excitement leading up to a season of hope for the green and gold. Join us tomorrow as we head to the rotation and talk about the 2026 outlook for left-handed pitching starter Jeffrey Springs. That's all we have for you today. See you tomorrow. And until next time, Holy Toledo, let's go A's.